Hey guys, thanks for joining me for a little bit of time out of your day. Today I'm just sharing some of the weekly routines and tasks that I generally do, from freshening up the bed sheets to doing laundry to meal prepping, general household projects and tasks. So I hope you guys enjoy and stick around to the end of the video. Hey friends, thanks for joining me again. Today I'm kind of doing, just to get it all done, it's going to be kind of this is going to be kind of a multiple day thing. I'm right now making some cinnamon raisin bread. We like this for our breakfast. So, yeah. I've got I have a brisket that I wanted to shred and slow cook, so we're gonna get that going. I need to blend up some ginger, make some ginger juice. I've been noticing changes in my weight, so that's really exciting to see because I'm doing Trim Healthy Mama and exercising. So I want to make sure I've got drinks and stuff on hand that are going to help me with that. Like Good Girl Moonshine, so that's why I want to make some ginger juice. My little guy's quiet until I start talking, and then he's like, I got stuff to say too. Anyways, so now that sits for like an hour. Do you guys ever wonder when people say we're going to get it all done, what they mean? Sometimes I'm like, yeah, right, you're not. But I guess when you think about it, it's like, okay, what do I want to get done today? What are the priorities? Let's get those things done. So things like watering the flowers, doing laundry, like I mentioned, getting the beef brisket going in the slow cooker. It's really nice outside, and it makes me feel like, it reminds me of summer. We currently have hamburger buns that are defrosted, so I want to do something that I could put with that. And I currently have fat rendering right now. We'll see if I keep it. I don't know if you're actually supposed to render fat from like store-bought beef, if that's actually good. Anyways, we'll see what happens with that. But for now, let's get going with some of our projects, and thanks for hanging out with me. You know, this is a 2-day thing because the cinnamon raisin bread takes a little bit to process. I'm going to do a fridge ferment, so it'll be ready to go in the oven first thing tomorrow morning. So anyways, if you want to see what I'm up to these 2 days, whatever, just hang around and I'll show you. Am I turning into a plant lady? I don't know. I'm trying to just have fun with the plants that I have, encourage them to grow. Some of them growing awesome, some of them not so much. Like my spider plant looks nothing like some I've seen, but it's fun to have them. I feel like they add a certain touch to the house that I really, really like. Most of these I've cut and propagated from just a few plants, so it's really fun to see them take off, and yeah, I'm learning lots as I go. With the weather changing, it was making me feel like making some summer type dishes, so I pulled this brisket out of the freezer. It had been in there for maybe 5 months, maybe 6 months. Anyways, there was a lot of fat on it, so I went at it, and it reminded me of when we would butcher our animals at our farm growing up. It was kind of fun to go at it and see how much fat I could get off. I did discover when I started out that my knife was pretty dull. It was not wanting to cut, but once I sharpened it, then it started working a whole lot better. I can link this knife in the description. It's my favorite, my mom's favorite. Whenever we knew someone who was getting married, she would give it to them as a bridal shower gift. It's such a sharp knife. It's really good. Anyhow, so then once I cut all the fat off, then obviously I cleaned my hands. And then I just grabbed salt and really tried to give it a good salt. Then I put it on the pan because I wanted to get a nice sear on it. You may have noticed there was tons of fat, which I ended up putting in the pot in the back and then cooking it down. I don't know, you guys tell me, is that like something that people use? I've heard you always drain the fat off of meat because that's where the not so good stuff is, I guess? I don't know. Let me know. Anyhow, I added water to the cast iron skillet because I wanted to get all the juice. And I guess whatever fat was there. Anyways, and then I just tried to scrape it. And then I dumped that into the pot. Basically, I was just doing a slow roast, slow cooker type thing with this brisket. So my recipe for this, well, I don't know if you would call it a recipe. I just kind of dump and squirt and put dashes of stuff like apple cider vinegar, liquid smoke. I like to add a bit of molasses since I don't use brown sugar. So I did a bit of molasses, about 3 tablespoons, and this was about a 3-pound roast, just so you know. So I didn't want to put too much molasses in. Then I added some Worcestershire sauce, and I'm trying to remember if I added some stevia. I added salt. I'm not sure I added stevia. Anyhow, then I added some pepper to the top of that. In my fridge, I found I had some tomato puree, tomato sauce stuff, so I dumped that in. And then, just to make sure I got everything, I added some water, shook it, and then I added that. Then I like to add mustard, so I had this container. It was almost all gone, so I added water to it. That's why it looks like it's a lot, but it's just very runny. And I was able to use up a bottle, which always makes me feel really good. Then I added a can of tomato puree. Then once it was all added, I just turned the Instapot on and let it cook for about 6 hours. I will say when it was done cooking, I wasn't able to process it, so I put the pot, I chilled the pot, took it out and got it all nice and cold overnight. And then in the morning, I went and took care of it. Anyhow, we'll get to that. Something that I've been trying to get better at is being more regular with washing the sheets. Typically, I try to do it at least once a week. I know when I was younger, I was really bad about staying on top of it. But I'm trying to do better. Anybody else like me? Speaking of bed sheets, do you guys make your beds every day? Generally growing up, that was always a thing. You always made your bed, and so I've tried to continue that on. Though often I'm the first one out of bed in the morning, and so for the most part, my husband tries to make the bed. Sometimes the days are crazy and he doesn't get to it, but generally he manages to make it. It's always a nice, I don't know why, it always surprises me. It always makes me really happy when we finish breakfast with the kids, he's gone to work, and I go into the room and the bed's made. It's like, aw, he made the bed. It's just a little thing, but there's nothing like having a messy bed. That's, I think, literally the worst. Kind of makes you feel not so great about yourself. Anybody else like that, or am I the only one? Like you may have noticed, this is a multiple day video. I kind of crammed a whole bunch of stuff into a few short clips. That's why you'll notice different outfits as the video goes on. Now that the weather has been warming up, I thought it would be a great time to start drying clothes outside again. There's nothing quite like freshly dried clothes, in my opinion. I absolutely love the feeling of clothes that have been dried in the sunshine. Did you know that you can get out baby poop, like when babies are breastfed, you know, they have that yellow stuff, and if it gets on clothes, you just gotta wash it and put them out in the sun, and the sun will get rid of it. It's really weird, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Super cool. because of living in the desert, it didn't take long for the clothes to get dried. Of course, it takes a little bit longer this time of year because it's just a tad bit cooler, but I want to say on this day it was about 60 degrees or mid-60s. Maybe like 63, 62. Okay, maybe it was 60 degrees. But anyways, I left the clothes out there for a couple hours, and by mid-afternoon, they were totally dry. It was pretty nice. You can get a lot of laundry done when you dry it outside. Plus, there's the satisfaction of knowing that you're saving. You're not running the dryer and stuff like that. Maybe I'm weird, but at least it makes me feel good. And then there was a massive pile of clothes. I don't know if you guys noticed, in the second load of laundry, I discovered I did not check the pockets of all the clothes. There was a whole mass of Kleenex that I missed. I should have checked it. I just assumed they were empty. They weren't. So anyways, as I'm folding laundry, I'm pulling off flakes of Kleenex. Yeah, but so it goes. Thankfully, it wasn't on everything. Just a bunch of stuff. Anyways, I like to get the laundry done right away, pretty much the same day. So if I get the laundry going the morning that I'm doing laundry, then it's much easier to get it done either during nap time when the kids are asleep or once they're up. Sometimes I have to stop and take breaks and go do things, but there's something that just, it really gets to me if I have laundry that's not done. It like hangs over my head. It's the worst. And also, I obviously did not look in the mirror before I did some of this footage because of my hair. But yeah, never mind that. I actually bought this ginger a while ago, and I was like, I need to take care of it. So I was like, okay, today's the day. I wanted to make some good girl moonshine and just have the ginger cubes on hand. Didn't want to waste this root of ginger. So I just chopped it up. I didn't worry about peeling it because I'm going to strain it here in a second. Yeah, you just blend it up for a couple seconds, maybe 10 seconds until you're pretty sure it's all nice and pulverized. And then I put it through a strainer. Sometimes I will put the pulp back into the blender, add more water, and have another go at it. But this time I was like, I'm good. It was pretty strong. It was a nice amount of concentrate, is that what you would say? It had a nice amount of flavor, so I was like, well, I don't want to water it down anymore. So I just squeezed as much of the juice out as I could. And yes, my straining bag was clean. It was clean when I started. It looks kind of dark, but that's just because I've used it. I used it for straining cranberry wassail, so it got a bit discolored from that. Anyhow, then I just poured it into ice cube trays and popped it in the freezer. Then once it's frozen, you just put it in a Ziploc bag and you can grab one or two or however many you like to add to your drinks. Quite literally, it almost tastes like pop when you do Good Girl Moonshine this way, just because of the ginger. And if you're familiar with the recipe, you add apple cider vinegar and stevia, and it's almost like a ginger ale. It's actually really good. Next up, I needed to make some more softened butter. Now, growing up where I did, I don't know, we always kept our butter in the fridge, And so as you would imagine, the blocks of butter get really hard. So my mom would do this thing where she would add some oil to it, soften it, blend it up with some oil, and pour it into a container, and then you keep that in the fridge. And so whenever you pull it out, it's basically, the oil makes it spreadable. So that's something that I like to do. It's kind of funny because my husband didn't grow up with that, but he's gotten used to it now. So if we're ever out, he's like, oh, where's the butter? I'm like, oh, you actually noticed. So anyways, he likes it. So yeah, I just pour it into the little container, and then that usually lasts us a couple weeks. Sandwiches and toast and stuff like that. Now let it be known, I was going to show you my favorite recipe for making mayonnaise, blender mayonnaise. But probably for the second time in my entire life it flopped. I only remember one other time where it didn't thicken right. So basically I have liquid dressing in my fridge right now. Anybody want to come over for some salad? Alright guys, well it's the next day and I pulled my sourdough out of the fridge. This is what it looks like. So now I'm just going to add the cinnamon, raisins to it, and get it into the little pans and into the oven. In an ideal world, I would have a perfectly clean kitchen and everything all in order, but anyways, it's first thing in the morning. Not first thing. We've had breakfast, but there's a lot to do, a lot to get ready for today. So let's get this going just because it needs to get in the oven. Dividing the bread up for this recipe was a little bit of a fiasco. Let's just say I wasn't able to think straight. I made a triple batch, so I made a recipe. It would end up being 3 loaves. And if you can see there, I have 3 bread pans. The largest one is for 2 full loaves, and then the other 2 are about 1.5 loaves or so. That's about their size. They're bigger than your typical bread pan, but they're not quite like the size of 2 loaves. So as I was dividing it, I was suddenly like, oh, hold up. How many? Because I didn't have enough for the biggest pan and one of the medium-sized ones. So I ended up just doing, what did I end up doing? I believe just one. No, I did 2 of the medium-sized ones. That's what I did. So that was about the total of 3 loaves. Anyhow, you'll see me kind of like grabbing dough and putting dough back and whatever. It worked out in the end. But that's kind of what was going on. Decided just for fun, instead of just doing raisins, to do goji berries. I recently heard how good those are for your eyes, and you can see I obviously have major problems with my eyes. You see those spectacles. Anyways, so I was like, hey, why not just go ahead and do half raisins, half goji berries? So that's what I did there. If you've seen my other videos, other sourdough ones, you know I love to use Glenda Groff's recipes, so I will link this one in the description. She's so kind and puts her recipes online. She also has a cookbook. One of these days, I think I just might have to invest in her cookbook because her recipes they're golden. They're awesome. We like to use this bread for breakfast meals, for our breakfasts in the morning, like to toast up a couple pieces. When I'm trying to stay in just carb mode, then I'll do 2 pieces of toasted bread and then I'll spray on a little bit of coconut oil, but just a tiny little bit so I stay in E mode. And then I like to sprinkle it with super sweet, which if you're familiar with Trim Healthy Mama, that's one of the sweeteners they sell. It's a mix of stevia and erythritol, I believe. Anyways, it's just like it sounds. It's super sweet. It's really, really good. That makes for an awesome breakfast. If you have some toast with that and then some form of protein or something, it's pretty good. Now Glenda suggests cooking these in a clay baker. Since I like to do it for sandwich bread, I prefer to do it in these pans. And then since I don't have a lid, I just used foil and tint that over the top. And it does a great job. I ended up with some really nice loaves, and then the top was a bit crunchy, but it wasn't super bad. I didn't get like a really hard crust like artisan bread does. So it worked out pretty good. The sauce was quite runny from the brisket, so I threw it on the stove in a pot and just let it simmer for a while to kind of cook it down. Then I pulled the brisket and basically shredded it. I did cut it into smaller size sections. I've cut it into thirds because we didn't really want super long, stringy pieces of meat. But it was delicious. We had it with some sourdough hamburger buns and some pickles and veggies, and it was really delicious. It was so good. I was able to get a couple other, maybe 4 meals out of this. So I threw some in the freezer to have for later. So that'll be really nice. Once again, thank you so much for joining me, and a huge thank you if you made it this far to the end of the video. We really appreciate you guys coming by, leaving your comments and stuff. So I look forward to sharing another video with you guys next week. So take care.